Hey guys, tonight we slip back through time, past the glow of electric lights, past the hum of engines and phones and fans, into a different kind of noise, a noise of roaring crowds, clashing metal, and the heavy breathing of men who know tomorrow isn't promised. You're standing barefoot on Roman soil, the kind that's been trampled by chariots and sandals alike. The sun is merciless, the air thick with smoke from braziers and the unmistakable tang of something burned. Maybe meat, maybe not. You've just been purchased, not adopted, not recruited, not even hired. You've been bought like a table or a goat. The man who paid for you eyes you like a sack of grain, sizing up your legs, your arms, your spine. He says nothing, just hands a wax tablet to another man and gestures. You're shackled to two others and marched off without so much as a welcome. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Let me know in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is for you right now. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're not in Rome for the views. You're here to fight and probably die for entertainment. The first thing you notice is the smell. Rome isn't the fragrant marble wonder from postcards. It's a clashing symphony of sweat, garbage, incense, and cooked meat. And now, your own stink joins the chorus. You haven't bathed in days. You were taken somewhere far off. Gaul, maybe? The locals here laugh at your accent. One of them pokes your ribs with the butt of a spear and mutters something about fresh meat. You're not alone. There are others, prisoners of war, runaway slaves, and even a few who volunteered. Yes, some people choose this life. Historians still argue whether they were brave or just that desperate, maybe both. You're herded into a small courtyard surrounded by high walls, no gates, just a single iron door that slams shut behind you. You flinch. You'll get used to that sound. You'd better. The man who bought you, your lanista, gives a speech. You understand maybe half of it. Something about discipline, training, glory, death, all delivered in the relaxed tone of someone reciting a grocery list. He claps his hands. A gate creaks open. Out steps a veteran, bald, scarred, eyes like chipped stone. He holds up a short wooden sword. This, he growls, is not for play. This is for life. And so begins your transformation, from person to product. You're assigned a number and told not to speak unless spoken to. Your clothes are taken. You're given a tunic so rough it could sand wood. Your feet bleed just from walking across the stone courtyard. Your fellow recruits look just as terrified as you feel. One of them is crying, quietly. You're not sure if it's safer to comfort him or ignore him. That night, you're locked into a cell with a rusted bolt on the outside. The walls are damp. You find a straw mat in the corner, already warm with someone else's sweat. You don't sleep. Your body is too sore and your mind is spinning. What are you now? Not a soldier, not a prisoner, something between. A thing meant to bleed for applause. Outside, the city doesn't sleep either. You hear laughter, music, the occasional scream, but in here, everything feels paused, like the moment before thunder. You're no longer you. You're Gladiator property, and tomorrow, the real work begins. Morning comes with no sunrise, just the creak of the iron door and a shout that makes your bones jump. You sit up fast, your neck aching from the straw mat, which somehow got lumpier overnight. The cell smells like wet rope and old blood. Your tunic's still damp from yesterday's sweat. Welcome to your new home. The guards don't waste time. You're herded out into the training yard before your eyes fully adjust. The sun is already high. Rome doesn't wait for you. Your new surroundings look more like a livestock pen than a school. The Ludus, Gladiator School, is a strange hybrid of prison, barracks, and gym. But don't let the term school fool you. There are no books here, no lectures, just dirt, discipline, and the constant sound of fists hitting flesh. The yard is enclosed by stone walls at least twice your height. No gates visible from where you stand. No hint of freedom. Just sand, sweat, and eyes watching from the shadows of the colonnade. You're divided into groups by size and build. They call your group the Aquan. It's not a compliment. The first task? Stand still while an instructor sizes you up and slaps your muscles to check for flinches. Then someone ties a lead weight to your ankle. just one. To build strength, they say, or maybe to humiliate you, hard to tell. Your first lesson is called disciplina corporea, physical discipline. It starts with carrying buckets of water back and forth across the yard, then squats, then crawling across gravel. By midday, your knees are bleeding. No one cares. The training area smells strongly of vinegar. You later learn this is intentional, used to clean wounds and invigorate the senses. It mostly just stings. A man collapses during drills. No one stops, not even the trainer. He's dragged to the edge of the yard like a sack of olives. You're not sure if he's breathing. Sleepy trivia break. Some gladiator schools had their own cemeteries on site. You know, just for convenience. Back to your workout. Now you're introduced to the rudies, a wooden sword smooth from years of use. It looks harmless. It isn't. Your arm is trembling after 10 minutes of drills, and you've barely learned how to hold the thing. Every blow you take is instruction. Every bruise is progress. You learn fast that the doctores, your instructors, aren't interested in speed or style. They want obedience, precision, and above all, silence. The cells are no better. After training, you're led down a stone corridor that echoes too well. Every cough, every whimper, every muttered prayer bounces off the walls like an accusation. Inside your new room, if you can call it that, is a slanted wooden bunk, a clay pot for your needs, and a hook for hanging what little you own. The walls are carved with names, some scratched deeply, some barely etched. Most have dates next to them. Your cellmate is already there, an older man with a dented nose and eyes that don't blink enough. He doesn't speak to you for hours. Then, just before sleep, he mutters, "They don't feed us to win, just to die slower." You learn that night that the ludus locks its doors with 2 bolts, one for keeping you in, one for keeping others out. That second bolt is the unsettling one. Historians still argue whether gladiator schools were more secure than military barracks. Some say yes, citing iron locks and heavy guards. Others think it depended on how famous or how expensive you were. You're not famous. You're barely worth the food they give you. Speaking of food, you're starving. But more on that tomorrow. For now, you lie back on your bunk, the straw poking your shoulders, the scent of mold and metal filling your nose. Outside, you hear laughter. Somewhere, above your cell, someone is whistling. You wonder what they're whistling about. Probably not you. Your stomach is the first thing to wake you up. It growls before your eyes even open, a hollow complaint echoing in the small cell. You sit up slowly. Everything aches. Muscles you didn't know existed are sore from yesterday's drills. You stretch and your back cracks so loud your cellmate grunts in his sleep. Breakfast, if you can call it that, arrives in a chipped clay bowl. It's warm, which is something. But the contents? Barley porridge, thick, lumpy, and vaguely gray. No seasoning, no fruit. Just a dull, heavy slop meant to fill your gut and keep you alive long enough to swing a sword. You eat it anyway. Quickly, not because it's good, but because the bowl gets taken whether you're done or not. Gladiator diets were carefully controlled. Historians agree that most fighters were fed large amounts of barley and legumes, foods high in carbohydrates. The goal wasn't flavor or finesse, it was bulk. Fat, after all, offered protection. A bit of belly fat meant that if a blade struck, it might not reach anything important. You weren't being prepared to win. You were being padded to survive just a little longer. You're marched back to the training yard after breakfast. The sun's barely risen, but it's already hot. Rome doesn't do mild mornings. The dust kicks up with every step. You cough. Someone spits. The smell of sweat and vinegar is even stronger today. Time for more disciplina corporea. More drills, more weights, more shouting. But now they add something new. Nutricio feria. Iron training. You're handed a dull metal gladius heavier than the wooden rudies from yesterday. It's not sharp, but it feels real. Too real. You're told to swing it in wide arcs, again, again, again. By the 30th swing, your shoulders are screaming. Someone next to you drops his sword and immediately gets whipped across the back. Not hard enough to break skin, but hard enough to send a message. No weakness, no mercy. One of the instructors, a man with a voice like gravel and arms the size of tree trunks, tells a joke in Latin. You don't get it, but everyone laughs. Maybe it's safer to laugh, even when you don't understand. Lunchtime brings more of the same: beans, flatbread, and a bitter herbal drink that tastes like spoiled tea. No wine. You've heard gladiators get wine after fights, not before, which, frankly, feels backward. You eat fast again. A rat runs across the edge of the yard. Nobody reacts. That tells you everything you need to know. Here's a fun little detail. Some scholars believe gladiators were nicknamed hordearii, barley men, because of their plant-heavy diet. It wasn't an insult, just an observation, but it doesn't make the porridge any more exciting. In the afternoon, things get worse. You're introduced to the pugil, a sparring harness made of leather straps and heavy padding. It's meant to protect you during close combat training, but the thing smells like it's never been cleaned. You slip it on and immediately regret it. Now you're paired with another trainee. No introductions, no rules, just fists, grunts, and the occasional knee to the stomach. You take a few good hits, land one or two of your own. By the end of the session, your lip is split and your ribs feel cracked. The instructor nods approvingly. "Good," he says. "You bleed like a Roman." You're not sure if that's a compliment or a death sentence. That night, you're too sore to sleep. Your cellmate, the quiet one, finally speaks again. He tells you this is the worst part. Not the arena, not the injuries, but the waiting, the in-between, the slow days where you're treated like livestock and expected to smile about it. He tells you about a guy who starved himself just to avoid the games. They force-fed him barley soup through a leather funnel. He died anyway, he adds. Not in the arena, just gave up. Historians still debate whether suicide was common among gladiators. Some say yes. Others point to the heavy security, the routines, the watchful eyes of trainers who had money riding on your survival. But people are clever. When they want out, they find ways. You lie back and listen to the creak of old wood, the muffled sounds of others groaning in their bunks. Somewhere far above, there's laughter again. It's always laughter, never yours. Tomorrow, you're told, you'll meet the lanista up close, the man who owns your body, who decides your name, your fate, and your future. For now, you try to sleep. Your belly is full, but joylessly so. Your limbs throb, your thoughts spiral. You didn't think death would smell like barley and leather. You wake up with barley breath and a stiff neck, and someone's already banging on the bars with a stick. It's time. Again. Always time for something. Today, it's weapons. Real ones. You're herded out into the bright yard, blinking against the morning sun. The sky above is perfect. Blue, cloudless, uncaring. The kind of sky that makes poets weep. But not you. You're too busy worrying whether your hand will cramp again. A wooden rack stands in the center of the yard, lined with an assortment of tools designed to make people bleed. Gladii, tridents, curved daggers, net weights, spears. Some of them look familiar, others less so, more like farming tools turned angry. One of the doctores walks up and points at your chest, then at a heavy wooden sword. "Pick it up," he says. It looks harmless again, but you've already learned that wood can hurt just as much as iron, especially when you're expected to use it for hours without pause. You grip the hilt. It's sticky, warm from the sun, splinters in places. You swing it once, twice. The trainer scowls. "Slower," he barks. "Smaller steps. Balance." And so begins another day of controlled suffering. Gladiators trained with wooden swords that were deliberately heavier than their real counterparts. Why? To build endurance, to make the real thing feel light when the time came. Kind of like jogging with ankle weights, except the stakes are life or death. You spend hours drilling, forward lunge, left block, right slash, spin, again, until your legs are jelly and your arms are twitching like broken puppets. Your partner is a lanky, sallow-faced man from somewhere east. He doesn't speak Latin. He doesn't need to. His eyes tell you everything. He's just trying to survive this day, same as you. You clash blades, wood on wood, thwack, grind, crack. His technique is better. Yours is faster. Neither of you wants to hurt the other. But every time you pull a blow, the trainer howls like you've insulted his mother. "Strike like you mean it," he yells. You strike. The sword glances off his shoulder. He winces. You say nothing. He says nothing back. Later, you'll be expected to clean these practice weapons. Not because they're valuable, most are splintered, dented relics, but because discipline is everything in the ludus. Order, obedience, repetition. You sneak a look at the other groups. One pair is practicing with nets and tridents, retiari. They look almost elegant, dancing and dodging like fishermen in a storm. But elegant doesn't mean safe. One guy gets tangled in his own net and falls hard. Everyone winces, even the instructors. There's something about the trident, too. The way it gleams in the sun, it feels theatrical, like a weapon designed for spectacle, not efficiency. That's because it was. Retiari were the flashy underdogs of the arena, lightly armored, mocked by some, loved by others. Some scholars argue their role was intentionally humiliating. Others say they were meant to represent Neptune, god of the sea. Either way, their survival depended on footwork and luck. Your training partner isn't laughing, neither are you. Around midday, you're allowed to rest, sort of. You sit on a stone bench, your limbs aching, watching another group rehearse mock combat with short spears. One man fakes a stab, then clutches his stomach like he's been mortally wounded. He collapses, gracefully, almost theatrically, onto the sand. The trainer claps once. Good. Die better next time. Because yes, they even teach you how to die. Historians still argue whether gladiators were expected to make their deaths look beautiful. Some inscriptions suggest that dying poorly, flailing, shrieking, weeping, was frowned upon. Others believe it was all showmanship, no different than modern stunt work. Either way, you're not just learning to kill, you're learning to perform. The afternoon heat turns brutal. Sweat soaks your tunic. Your hands are blistered. You lose track of time somewhere around the 100th drill. The wood sword feels heavier by the minute. When the bell finally rings, the end of training for the day, you feel like collapsing. But first, you line up. You hand your weapon back to the rack. You don't speak. No one does. You shuffle back to your cell, feet dragging in the dust. Someone near you vomits. No one reacts. That's just part of the day now. Back in your cell, you lie flat on the wooden bunk, limbs splayed. Your cellmate says nothing tonight, just tosses a piece of bread your way. You nibble at it, too tired to chew properly. Somewhere in the hall, someone is crying. You stare at the ceiling and wonder, not for the first time, what your name used to be. They say your lanista owns your life, and today you get to meet him in person. He arrives not with a fanfare, but with a low murmur that ripples through the yard like a breeze before a storm. You're mid-drill when the murmuring starts. A few guards straighten their posture. A doctor wipes his brow, which he's never done before. Something's different. Then you see him. He's not what you expect. No armor, no scarred face, no booming voice, just a short man with olive skin, well-oiled hair, in a deep green cloak too clean for this place. He doesn't look at you like a coach or a soldier would. He looks at you like a merchant checking his ledgers, because you're not a fighter to him. You're an investment. The lanista walks slowly, trailing two scribes behind him. They're muttering, pointing, scribbling notes on wax tablets. The lanista's eyes flick from one body to another, judging, weighing, calculating. You try not to meet his gaze, but he stops right in front of you. He stares for a long moment. "Show me your hands," he says. You hold them out. Blistered, swollen, raw. He grunts approvingly. Fast, probably, needs more weight. Then he walks on. That's the extent of your evaluation. 10 words, no name. Just meat on a butcher's hook. Laniste weren't just trainers, they were businessmen. They bought, sold, and maintained gladiators like assets. And they wielded enormous power, more than most realize. Historians still argue whether they were more respected or reviled. In public, some were scorned as pimps of violence, but in private, the elite threw coins at their feet. After his inspection, things shift. You get assigned a name, not your real name. That's long gone. Your new name is carved into a wax tablet, scribbled beside your height, build, and training stats. Something dramatic, exotic, maybe Greek, maybe African, maybe entirely made up. The point isn't accuracy, it's appeal. You are now Arcanus, or maybe Felix. If they're feeling cheeky, maybe Aquila, which means eagle, though you definitely don't feel like one. Names mattered. They were brand identity, drama bait, and sometimes cruel irony. Gladiators were named for gods, beasts, and legends, but never for themselves. From now on, that name will be chanted in the stands, painted on walls, whispered in betting rings, but not in your cell. There, you're still just you. With your name comes a shift in routine. You're assigned to a specialty. Based on your size, your agility, or just the trainer's whim, you might become a secutor, a heavily armored brawler, or a retiarius, quick, nimble, net and trident type, or something rarer like a demacaris who fights with 2 swords and little else. You're told you'll be a secutor, which means one thing: you're the tank. Heavy shield, heavy sword, helmet so rounded it looks like a cooking pot, almost no vision. You're handed the gear today, not metal yet, just weighted replicas to train your body for the real thing. The shield alone feels like a door ripped off a farmhouse. You try to lift it, but your shoulder screams in protest. A doctor barks. No one rests until they can carry it and walk a lap. You walk, you stumble, you try again. It sucks, and it keeps sucking for the next few hours. The helmet is the worst, you can barely see. It smells like iron and dried spit. It's so hot your hair sticks to your neck in clumps. You practice with it anyway, because if you don't, they'll make you practice longer. And here's a fun twist. The secutor helmet is specifically designed to counter the retiarius. Small eye slits to prevent trident stabs, smooth dome so the net slides off. Clever, right? But wearing it feels like drowning on land. Your cellmate, finally talkative, tells you about a guy who went blind in one eye from heat exhaustion. Still fought, still died. Dinner is lentils, flatbread, and something that might once have been cheese. You eat it all. Even the suspicious part, hunger wins every time. That night, you stare at the wall and whisper your new name once, just to hear how it sounds. It doesn't feel like yours, not yet. You're starting to understand what it means to be disposable. Tonight, you're sleeping in a new cell, not because you asked. Nobody asks for anything here, but because the old one was needed for someone more valuable. You don't ask questions, you just gather your straw mat and move down the corridor to a room that smells even worse than the last. Your new bunkmate? He's quiet at first, older, built like a wine barrel, with arms covered in scars and a nose that's been broken at least twice. He nods once when you enter, then turns back to sharpening a sliver of bone on the edge of the bed frame. You try not to look at it too long. This is the part no one tells you about. The nights. The training yard is cruel, yes, but it has rules. In here, in the cells, the rules evaporate. You sleep with your back against the wall, arms crossed tightly, one eye open, because you're not alone anymore. And not everyone around you wants to survive. Some are looking to escape, through any means necessary. Historians still argue whether gladiator barracks were policed or simply left to self-regulate. Some claim there were nightly patrols. Others suggest that the Lenesteg turned a blind eye, thinking conflict toughened the men. Either way, you don't feel protected. At dinner, you'd noticed a new face across the yard. Tall, narrow-eyed, with hands that never stopped twitching. Word spreads fast in the ludus, even without speaking. He killed someone during a sparring match and smiled when the man dropped, said he was helping the gods decide. And now he's in the cell 2 doors down. Your new bunkmate, after hours of silence, speaks. Don't talk, don't trade, don't trust, that's all he says. Then he lays down and closes his eyes. You lie awake for a long time after that. When you do fall asleep, it's only briefly, and it's filled with strange dreams. You're standing in the arena, blindfolded, surrounded by sand that whispers your name. But it's not your name. It's the new one. The one they gave you. You wake up sweating. The next morning, training continues. Of course it does. Your shield feels heavier than yesterday. Your helmet stinks even worse. But today, there's something new in the air. Tension. Everyone's quieter, the guards more alert. You catch snippets of conversation. A match is coming. Not practice, not drills, a real one. Some of the senior fighters are sharpening their weapons with a kind of grim serenity. Others are talking softly, making odd little jokes to hide their nerves. The lanista strolls through with a list in hand. He calls names. Yours isn't one of them, yet. But the whisper travels down the line. Your day is coming. Soon. You keep training, but now your mind is spinning. What's worse, being picked or being next? Lunch is barley mash again. You eat it even though your stomach churns. The older gladiator across from you is humming. He hums while he eats, hums while he washes, hums while he prays. You always hum, someone mutters. He shrugs, drowns out the thinking. You try it later. It doesn't help. Back in the cell, you and your bunkmate avoid eye contact. He sharpens that same sliver of bone with calm purpose. You're not sure if it's for protection or preparation. At some point, you break and ask, "How many matches have you fought?" He doesn't look up. "Enough." "Win any?" A long pause. "Some." You wait, but that's all you get. Eventually, he says something else, voice so soft you almost miss it. "I only sleep when I know they're too tired to kill me." You don't respond. That night, you lie on your side, one hand wrapped around your belt strap like it's a weapon. Sleep doesn't come easy. When it does, it's shallow, broken by every footstep in the hallway, every creak of the building settling. Someone down the corridor is coughing violently. Another voice, high-pitched and slurred, is singing something in Greek. You don't understand the words. You count them anyway, like sheep. 1, 2, 3. You make it to 47 before the voice stops mid-sentence. And then, silence. There's a saying passed between gladiators, not one written in stone or etched on a wall, just whispered, like a bitter prayer. It's not the fight that kills you, it's the healing. You learn why soon enough. It starts with a dull ache in your leg. You think maybe it's just soreness from drills, but by the third day the ache turns sharp. By the fifth, you can barely bend your knee. You limp to training, gritting your teeth. The doctorier sees the limp and gives you a choice. Train through it or visit the infirmary. You pick the infirmary, foolishly. It's a single room tucked behind the bathhouse with no windows and a floor permanently damp from spilled wine and worse. The air smells like vinegar and old socks. There's a cot in the corner, a wooden shelf stacked with linen scraps, clay jars, and a single iron hook hanging from the ceiling that you try not to look at too long. The medicus, your doctor, is a wiry man with ink-stained fingers and a cloudy eye. He doesn't ask your name, just gestures to the cot and starts poking at your leg like he's testing fruit at the market. "Swollen," he mutters. "Too tight, needs bleeding." "Wait, what?" Before you can object, he pulls out a bronze needle longer than your finger. No warning, no numbing, just a quick jab and a hiss of air as the pressure releases. You almost pass out. He slaps your face lightly. "Don't faint," makes the others nervous. Then he rubs something sticky and foul-smelling onto the wound. It burns, a lot. He tells you it's a mixture of fish guts, vinegar, and crushed onion. "Kills the poison," he says proudly. Historians have confirmed that Roman medicine was creative. They believed in balancing the humors of the body: blood, phlegm, black bile, and yellow bile. A swollen joint? Clearly too much blood. Hence, the needle. The fish paste? That's just tradition. You spend the rest of the day lying on the cot, watching ants march across the ceiling beams. Occasionally, someone screams in the other room. You learn not to flinch. The medicus gives you a drink, thick, red, bitter, probably wine mixed with poppy extract. It dulls the pain, or at least the memory of it. But that night, the real pain begins. Your leg swells again, hotter this time. You sweat through your tunic. Your cellmate watches from his bunk, silent. He doesn't offer help. He's seen this before. You dream of standing in the arena with no leg at all, just bone. The crowd laughs. The sand shifts under you like quicksand. You wake up shaking. The next day, you're back at the infirmary. This time, the medicus has a different remedy. He wraps your leg in strips of linen soaked in honey. "Flies hate it," he says with a wink. You don't feel reassured. Here's a lovely fact. Roman battlefield medicine sometimes used honey and cobwebs as wound dressings. The honey acted as a mild antiseptic, and the cobwebs helped clotting. Science says it wasn't the worst idea. But when your wound is throbbing and smells like rotten fish, it's hard to feel optimistic. While you wait for the linen to dry, another fighter is brought in. He's barely conscious, arm dangling uselessly from his shoulder. He mutters something about a training spear and a twist. The medicus examines him, frowns, then pours hot oil onto the arm. The scream is sharp, short, and final. You don't ask what happened next, you don't need to. That night, you return to your cell slower than usual. The limp is still there, but your pride is the bigger bruise. Your bunkmate finally speaks. "Better not to go at all," he says. "I thought you said it was worse to fight injured," you answer. He shrugs. Either way, you bleed. You lie back, trying not to move your leg too much. Your mind races through what you saw, the needle, the honey, the screams. You understand something new. Gladiators don't die in the arena, not always. Some die here, slowly, rotting from the inside out, while everyone else trains like nothing's wrong. Historians still debate whether gladiators received better medical care than ordinary citizens. Some say yes, they were valuable after all. Others argue that value only extended as far as the next match. After that, you were just scrap. The night passes slowly. You stare at the wall, count the cracks in the ceiling, listen to the faint rustle of the rats making their rounds. Somewhere nearby, someone's whispering. A prayer, maybe, or a curse. You close your eyes and hope you don't need the infirmary again. Because healing here, it sucks. You know how people always say, don't take it personally? That advice does not apply here. In the arena, everything is personal, especially when thousands of people are betting on how fast you'll bleed. You're not there yet. Not in the sand, not under the sun, but today is your first taste of what it feels like to be viewed like a racehorse. Or a dice roll. It starts with whispers. Betting day is near. Even the trainers look different, cleaner, more alert. You spot your lanista speaking with a group of well-dressed men by the outer gate. He's smiling. That alone is suspicious. You ask your cellmate what's happening. "Inspection," he says. "Of what?" He looks at you like you've just asked why the sun rises. "Of us." And he's right. That afternoon, you're paraded like livestock. Dozens of potential sponsors, gamblers, and minor aristocrats stroll through the training yard with scrolls and styluses. They circle each of you like you're cuts of meat. Some ask questions about your training. Most don't even speak to you, just poke your biceps, inspect your shins, and nod or shake their heads. You're told to demonstrate your stance, your guard, your sword swing. You do so with a dry mouth and trembling fingers. Your name, your arena name, of course, gets passed around more than your actual face does. People seem interested. That should comfort you, but it doesn't. You're not being praised, you're being priced. Gladiator games were fueled by bets. Who would win, how long it would take, how many hits. The crowd wasn't just there for blood, they were there for payout. Think modern fantasy football, but the players actually die. Historians still argue how deep the corruption went. Were fights rigged? Were gladiators ever paid to lose? Probably. In an economy that ran on ego, influence, and public favor, fairness wasn't the point. Spectacle was. And you're the centerpiece of the show. After the inspection, the atmosphere shifts again. Now, everyone's watching everyone. Rivals size each other up more openly. Old alliances go quiet. You're told who you'll spar with this week, and it's someone you really didn't want to fight. He's big, really big. Shoulders like a card ox, arms like marble columns. Rumor has it he broke someone's spine last month. By accident. You try not to show fear, but your knees have opinions of their own. The match is for training only. That's what they say. But the way the crowd lines up, yes, there's a crowd today, suggests otherwise. You're handed a blunted sword and your usual heavy shield. The helmet slides over your eyes, and for a moment, everything is just darkness and breath. Yours, his, the crowd's. Then the whistle blows. The first hit rattles your shoulder so hard it numbs your entire left side. The second catches your shin. Your vision flickers. You try to counter, but he's too fast. Or maybe you're too slow. You manage one good strike, shield to his ribs. He grunts. That's a win, right? But no. He recovers, knocks you flat with a single body blow. The wind leaves your lungs like you've been kicked by a horse. You hit the sand and just lie there for a second, dazed. The crowd, yes, they're still here, claps politely. You're not dead, just humiliated. After the match, the trainer says nothing, just scribbles something on a wax tablet. You imagine it says, "Too soft." Back in your cell, you can't stop replaying it. That one bad step, that slow recovery, the stupid helmet that kept slipping sideways. Your cellmate sees your face and chuckles. "Don't worry," he says. "They don't remember the losers." You try to laugh. You fail. Dinner is quieter than usual. Even the guards seem subdued. You overhear two trainers speaking near the latrines. "He'll never last a real match," one says. "Doesn't matter," replies the other. "He's cheap." You don't ask who they meant. You don't want to know. Later, lying in bed, you try to count your breaths. It's something your mother taught you once, back when sleep came easy and nightmares didn't wear sandals. You lose count somewhere around 32. Outside, the wind picks up. It howls against the stone walls like a warning. The arena is calling, and the crowd is getting ready to cheer. It's official. You've been rebranded. You wake up to a shout, a list in your name, your new name, barked out like a punishment. "Aquila!" You snap to attention. That's you now. Not the name your mother whispered in the cradle, not the one the village priest scrawled on a birth tablet. Just this sharp, clipped alias that sounds more like a bird than a man. But at least it's better than third from the left, which is how you've been treated until now. The lanista has called for you. That's rare. Usually, you're summoned by a guard or a trainer, but this morning, you're personally escorted to his private chamber, a room you've only glimpsed through half-closed doors full of rugs, wine jugs, and the faint smell of expensive oil. He's seated behind a carved table, two scribes on either side. He doesn't look up when you enter, just gestures to a chair. You hesitate. He doesn't like that. "Sit," he says. You do. He eyes you for a moment. You've been assigned. Your stomach tightens. 3 days from now, you'll open the midday match against another sector. No tricks, no animals, just steel and sand. You're not sure if that's good or bad. A straight fight is fair, theoretically, but it also means you can't hide behind theatrics or hope for interference. He continues. You'll enter under your stage name. We'll paint your shield red. The crowd likes red. He says this like he's ordering a dinner course. Win and you earn standing. Lose. He doesn't finish the sentence. He doesn't need to. Then comes the branding. Not metaphorical, literal. They take you outside into a shaded alcove behind the baths. There's a fire burning low in a brazier. A piece of iron glows inside it. It's not shaped like a letter or a number, just a mark. Simple, brutal, permanent. You try not to shake as two guards pin you against the wall. The trainer holds the iron steady, then nods. Bite this, he says, handing you a strap of leather. You don't remember the pain, not really, just the smell. That sharp, singed stench of hair and skin and something more ancient, like punishment, like permanence. They brand the inside of your arm, just above the elbow where armor might hide it, but you'll feel it forever. Fun fact, not all gladiators were branded, but many were, especially slaves and prisoners of war. Some bore the mark of their lanista, others were tagged with a symbol for tax-paid property. Either way, you are now traceable, replaceable, owned. Back in the cell, your arm throbs with a heat that no cold cloth can soothe. Your cellmate notices the bandage. He nods slowly, like he's seen it 100 times. You're real now, he says. You don't reply. Dinner is barley stew again. You spoon it in left-handed. Every movement with your right arm feels like fire. Nobody offers help. Nobody expects any. That night, sleep eludes you. Not because of the pain, though it's bad, but because your mind won't stop spinning. 3 days. That's all. 3 days until you step into the arena, until your name is called, until you walk out into a crowd that's waiting to see you fall. You picture the sand, hot and white, the gates, creaking open, the other fighter, faceless but fast, already moving before you even raise your shield. You picture the crowd, laughing and eating grapes, placing bets on how long you'll last, which side you'll bleed from first. Historians still argue about how many gladiators died in their first match. Some claim it was rare, bad business. Others suggest that a quick death made for great entertainment and set the tone for the rest of the day. You're hoping for the rare version. As the night drags on, you start reciting your footwork in your head. Left step, shield up, pivot, thrust, repeat. It helps. A little. But when your eyes finally close, you dream of the brand on your arm glowing brighter and brighter until it's the only thing left of you. Sleep doesn't do what it's supposed to anymore. You wake up feeling heavier, not lighter. The brand on your arm sticks to your tunic, dried blood tugging at fabric. You peel it away slowly, gritting your teeth through the sting. It's barely scabbed over, and already it looks old, like it's always been part of you. No one asks how it went, no one congratulates you. This isn't that kind of place. Training resumes like nothing happened. You're back in the yard before the sun fully crests the wall, shield in hand, helmet pressing into your brow. But the trainers are watching you differently now. You're on the roster, which means they care, but only a little. Today's focus is practice combat, the real kind. Still not sharp steel, but the edges are close enough. Every block shakes your bones, every missed parry earns you a slap or a barked insult. Your opponent is another secutor, bigger than you, slower but solid. He grins once before the match starts, just enough to let you know he's not nervous. You hate that grin. The bout begins. Your shield slams into his with a thud that echoes off the stone. He shoves back hard. You slide in the sand. He lunges. You sidestep, barely. The crowd, yes, there's always someone watching now, murmurs. You catch him with a shoulder check that earns a nod from your doctorate. But when you pause to adjust your stance, he lands a hit to your thigh that buckles your leg. The pain is sharp and immediate. You recover, swing wide, connect with his side. Wood on ribs, he stumbles. The bout ends in a draw. Both of you are panting, both of you bleeding, just a little. The trainer calls it acceptable. The other guy grins again as he walks off. You don't return it. Later, you sit alone by the water basin, cleaning your gear. Your hands tremble. Not from fear, not exactly, but from the realization that this is it. This is your life now. This endless cycle of hitting and being hit, of bruises that never fade before new ones appear. You think about the audience, the real one, not just the gamblers and nobles, the common people, the ones who scream the loudest. Did you know that spectators were seated by class in Roman arenas? The wealthy sat up close, shaded and pampered, while the poor stood in the sun, sweating and shouting. But all of them had the same power. They could cheer you into fame or boo you into death. Historians still debate how much influence the crowd had over life or death decisions. Some say the emperor or a sponsor had final say. Others argue that, in practice, if the crowd wanted you dead, you were dead. It's the illusion of choice that stings the most. In the bathhouse that evening, you see yourself in the rippled water. Your face looks unfamiliar. Bruised, yes. Thinner, definitely. But it's the eyes. They're too steady, too ready, like they've been preparing for this all along. Someone brushes past you, another fighter. He nods toward your shoulder. You die clean. They remember you, he says. You don't ask what clean means. Back in your cell, your cellmate is already asleep, or pretending. You eat quietly, stew again, and watch the candle flicker on the stone wall. Your hands still tremble. 3 times you raise your arm to check the brand. 3 times you lower it. You whisper the name again. Aquila. It still doesn't fit, but it's sticking. You lie back, stare at the ceiling. Tomorrow is rest day, but there's no real rest. Just waiting, always waiting. And behind your eyelids the fight replays. The shove, the hit, the thud of wood against ribs over and over, until your breath syncs with it, until your pulse matches it, until sleep comes again, slow and heavy and dreamless. They don't tell you this part. The worst day isn't fight day, it's the day before. Today, you wake up before the guard comes. You're already dressed, already pacing. Your gear lies folded by the wall, your tunic, your sandals, your belt. The sword and shield will come later. For now, you just wait. Your cellmate doesn't say anything. He knows. You know. What is there to say? Breakfast arrives. You can't eat it. You try. 2 bites of barley, a sip of water, but your stomach tightens like a fist. You push the bowl aside. The guard says you're excused from training. Preserve strength, he says. But you know the real reason. They want you to marinate in your thoughts, to stew in the soup of what might happen tomorrow. Will you live? Will you fall in the first minute? Will anyone remember your name? You've never been this still in the ludus. No shouting, no drills, no bruises to distract you. Just stillness, and that's what makes it awful. You find a shaded corner near the bathhouse and sit, not sleep, not meditate, just sit and wait. The lanista walks by once, flanked by 2 clients. He doesn't look at you. That's either a good sign or a very bad one. Around midday, you're summoned for inspection, again. A physician pokes at your joints, checks your reflexes, nods. You want to tell him your thigh still aches from that last sparring match, but you don't. You lie. You stand up straight. You pretend to be invincible. Gladiators were products. If you looked defective, you were either replaced or used for something bloodier. Fun fact, injured or untrained gladiators were sometimes thrown into novelty fights against animals or multiple opponents. You don't want that. After the inspection, you're told to visit the chapel, a dim, smoky room with a small altar and a faded statue of Nemesis, goddess of retribution. There's no priest, just a few bowls of ash, a cracked jar of wine, and a worn cushion where you kneel. You don't believe in the gods anymore. Or maybe you just don't think they listen. But you still kneel. You still whisper something, maybe a prayer, maybe just your mother's name. Later, back in your cell, you try to rest. Try being the key word. Every noise makes you flinch. Every distant cheer from the Colosseum stabs your nerves like a dagger. Your cellmate finally speaks. You want advice? He asks. You nod. Don't look at the crowd. Don't hesitate. And whatever you do, if you fall forward. You raise an eyebrow. Why forward? He shrugs. Looks braver. Dinner arrives. You force it down. Barely. Lentils, a stale crust of bread, and a single fig. The fig feels oddly ceremonial, sweet, soft, like a goodbye kiss. Historians still debate the final meals of gladiators. Some claim they were fed richly, as a gesture of honor. Others say it was barley as usual. But a fig? That tracks. Simple, symbolic, easy to digest. The sun sinks lower. Shadows stretch across the yard like reaching fingers. You stare at the wall and imagine it's sand. Picture your footsteps across the arena floor. Picture your opponent's stance, his speed, his eyes. You wonder if he's just as nervous, or if he's done this before, many times, and already forgotten your name. Probably. You ask your cellmate one last question. Does it hurt? He doesn't answer right away. Then, only if you care. That night, you lie on your bunk, hands folded on your chest like a corpse. Sleep comes in fits, a minute here, 2's there. Every time you doze off, you see flashes. The sun, the gates, a gladius flashing in the light, a face behind a helmet, blank and waiting. You wake each time drenched in sweat. In the distance, the city buzzes. Rome never sleeps, but you can hear something different tonight. Anticipation, laughter, fireworks maybe, or music from a tavern spilling into the streets. They're already celebrating. They don't even know your name. But tomorrow they might. For an hour, maybe less. The gates are taller than you thought they'd be. They creak open slowly, groaning under their own weight. The light floods in first, white, blinding, angry. Then the noise hits, not all at once. It builds, a wave of breath, then feet, then cheers and yells and the shrill pitch of metal clanging against shields. You try to keep your eyes on the sand, but it pulls you in. You step forward, one foot, then the other. Welcome to the arena. Your mouth is dry, so dry it hurts to swallow. You can't even feel the helmet on your head anymore, just heat and weight. Your vision narrows to a tight rectangle framed by thick bronze edges. Everything smells like dust, sweat, and anticipation. Not fear, not yet, but it's coming. You march out slowly, as instructed. No running, no sudden moves. You're not prey, not yet. To your left, you catch the outline of the editor, the sponsor of the games, lounging under a canopy, fanned lazily by a servant. He's tossing grapes into his mouth and whispering to the man beside him. Probably about you. Probably about your odds. Opposite you, your opponent enters. You size him up in an instant. Another secutor. Same shield, same helmet style, Same long gladius at his side, but bigger, broader, his armor is newer. Yours looks borrowed, because it is. He doesn't look at you. He raises his sword to the crowd, slow and theatrical. They cheer, they always cheer. Then, silence, not complete, but sudden, expectant. A horn sounds once, low, ominous. The fight begins. You move first, not because you want to, but because stillness feels like death. You circle, shield raised, sword ready. He circles too. It's a dance neither of you practiced, but you've both rehearsed. First clash, your shields slam. He grunts. You grunt louder, not from pain, but to mask it. Second clash, swords. He jabs low, quick. You block, barely. The vibration rattles through your wrist up to your shoulder. Your grip slips. You adjust. He lunges again. You land a hit, not deep, not even bleeding, but enough to draw a gasp from the front rows. Your confidence spikes, then vanishes. He sweeps low, aims for your ankle. You leap back, lose balance, almost fall. The crowd loves it. You recover. Just. This continues for what feels like hours. It's probably minutes. Every strike is survival. Every breath feels sullen. A sharp blow to your ribs knocks the wind out of you. You drop to one knee, instinctively raising your shield over your face. He hesitates, just for a moment. And that's when you see it. He's tired too. You rise, swing hard. He blocks, but slower now. The tide shifts. You press forward. Short jabs, controlled strikes. He stumbles back. The crowd rises, sensing blood. You knock his shield aside. One hit to his thigh, another to his ribs. He drops to a knee now. You raise your sword, and then pause. Everything freezes, because this is the moment, the one you've heard about, the one whispered about in the cells, the one where your sword hovers over someone else's life and you realize you're being watched. The editor raises his hand. The crowd starts chanting. Some say kill, some say spare. The words blur into noise. Historians still debate whether gladiators had to kill every time. Some say mercy was common, especially for crowd favorites. Others believe it depended on the fight, the blood spilled, the whim of the sponsor. Your opponent doesn't beg. He just looks at you through the slit of his helmet, waiting. The editor gives a small nod. You don't know what it means. You look at the man before you, your mirror, your equal, and make your choice. You lower your sword. The crowd groans or cheers. You can't tell. You help him up. The horn sounds again. The match is over. You both limp back toward the gates, side by side, not speaking, not needing to. Back inside the ludus, you collapse onto a bench. A medic dabs your shoulder with something sharp. You don't even flinch. You didn't die, someone says. You nod. You didn't win either. You nod again, but you're still breathing, for now. And that's more than some can say. You expect applause, a pat on the back, maybe a nod from a guard. Something, anything, to mark the fact that you just survived your first real arena fight. You get nothing. No one in the ludus is impressed by survival. Survival is the bare minimum. It's the unpaid internship of the gladiator world. Only death gets headlines. Victory gets favors. Surviving? That just means you're ready for the next match. Your gear is taken without ceremony. The medic slathers your bruises with a mix of vinegar, olive oil, and something that smells like old garlic. It stings. You welcome it. At least it means you're not numb. Your cellmate raises an eyebrow when you return. You don't speak. He nods. That's enough. The next day, your name is posted, not on a wall, just scratched into a wax tablet near the mess area. There's a symbol next to it, 2 curved marks, meant to represent a tie, not a win, not a loss. You're not sure how you feel about that. Lunch is richer than usual. A bowl of lentils with bits of meat in it, actual meat, a reward. You don't ask what kind, you just eat. Then, the best part, a bath. You soak in silence. The water is warm, and the grime of the past few days loosens from your skin like a second identity. You sit there until your fingers prune, staring at the ceiling. It's cracked in one corner. You memorize every line. Later that evening, you're called aside by one of the scribes. He looks bored as he hands you a folded scrap of parchment. It's a message, scrawled in hurried Latin. Good form, you kept the shield up. M, no signature, no explanation, just that. You fold it and hide it beneath your mat. Here's a twist you didn't expect. Some gladiators had fans. In fact, some had a lot of fans, especially those who survived multiple matches. Some were admired like athletes, others like tragic actors. Women left love notes, men sent money. Some gladiators even became fashion icons. Copies of their helmets or armor sold as souvenirs. Historians still argue whether any of those relationships were real or just part of the spectacle. But the affection, the obsession, that was very real. The next few days are slow, no training, just rest. Your muscles thank you, your nerves, less so. You lie on your bunk and wonder about your opponent. Is he limping too? Did they reward him for letting you live? Or punish him for not ending it? You wonder if you'll face him again. You wonder if you'll be told to finish it next time. Because mercy doesn't always mean kindness. Sometimes it just means delay. The next time you're in the courtyard, people notice you. Not many, but a few nod. One pats your shoulder, another says, clean fight. It's almost respect. It feels strange. Back in your cell, your cellmate breaks the silence. You get a nickname yet? You frown. What? Nickname, for the boards, the betting. They don't like real names, they like myths. You think for a moment. Aquila. He shakes his head. That's your arena name, not what they call you. You wait. He smirks. Shieldbird. Heard it twice. You blink. That's awful. He shrugs. You could do worse. And he's right. One guy got called Belly Splitter. Another was Goat Face. Shieldbird, you'll take it. That night, you try sleeping on your side. The bruises make it awkward, but eventually you drift off. You dream of flying, sword in one hand, shield in the other. Not fleeing, not chasing, just soaring over the city. You wake up smiling, briefly. Then the aches return, the heaviness, the knowledge that now you're part of the cycle. No longer just a trainee. Now you're a piece of the machine, a gladiator who lived. You've stopped waiting for things to get easier. By now you've learned that the ludus doesn't reward effort. It doesn't care how hard you train, how clean you fight, how close you came to dying. It only cares that you're still standing, which means one thing. You're eligible for more matches. You overhear the lanista speaking with a patron near the outer gate. Yes, he's promising, he says. Good instincts, might last the season. You're not sure what the season means, but it sounds like a sentence. The next round of training is different. It's not about survival anymore. It's about polish, discipline, showmanship. You're pulled from the general drills and assigned to a special group, fighters prepping for Sine Missionae combat. Your heart sinks. Sine Missionae means no mercy, noble decision to spare, no crowd vote, no sponsor override. Just 2 men enter, 1 man leaves. These weren't common fights, but they did happen. Usually during major festivals or political events. Historians still argue how often the no mercy rule was enforced. Some claim it was a symbolic threat more than a reality. Others say it was deadly serious. You're hoping it's the first theory, but deep down, you don't believe that. Training intensifies. You fight 2 matches a day now, 1 in the morning, 1 after lunch. Each time, your opponents are unfamiliar. No time to learn patterns or predict habits, just constant adaptation. The trainers watch closely, not for victory, for style. A clean parry, a dramatic spin, a blow that lands with flair. These are the things they nod at, because the crowd doesn't just want to fight, they want theater. You're drilled in posture, how to raise your shield with flair, how to salute the audience, how to fall gracefully if needed. It feels absurd, but you do it anyway. One afternoon, a visiting dignitary stops by, a young Roman senator with oiled curls and a toga that probably costs more than your life. He points at you during a demonstration. Him, he says, the one with the eagle name. He'll fight during Saturnalia. And just like that, your fate is sealed. Saturnalia, the biggest festival of the year. Days of drinking, gambling, gift-giving, and of course, blood sport. Everyone will be watching. The amphitheater will be full, and your name, your fake name, will be printed on the games list. You're told your opponent will be a Democharis, a dual sword fighter. Fast, light, unpredictable. Your style is the opposite, shield heavy, grounded, defensive, which means this will be a clash of contrast, and the crowd will love it. The trainers make you spar with 2 wooden gladi to simulate what your opponent might do. You struggle. Your block is too slow. You take a dozen hits in 10 minutes. They grunt. You'll have to tire him out. That night, you soak in the bath longer than usual. Your arms are bruised. Your chest aches. You have a cut on your cheek from a sparring match that wasn't supposed to draw blood. Your cellmate, now officially not the quiet type, leans against the edge of the tub and smirks. Saturnalia, huh? You nod. Don't trip. That's how Goatface went out. Slipped. Looked like a fool. They didn't even bother finishing him with a blade. Used the net anchor instead. You stare at him. I'm kidding, he says. Then, mostly. You ask what he did during his first Saturnalia. He doesn't answer, just sinks lower into the water. That night, your gear is returned to you, with fresh polish. Your helmet gleams like a mirror. Your shield has been repainted so red and gold this time, the festival colors. There's a name etched inside the rim. Yours, your fake one. You run your fingers over it. It doesn't feel like yours, but it is. Because here, identity isn't who you are, it's who you bleed as. The night before Saturnalia doesn't feel like a celebration. You'd think it might. There's laughter in the streets outside. Firecrackers pop in the distance. Wine spills like water. For most of Rome, this is a time of inversion, when masters serve slaves, when rules are bent, when joy becomes duty. But here, in the ludus, everything is still. The other fighters give you space, some out of respect, some because they don't want to attach themselves to a soon-to-be ghost. You lie on your bunk, staring at your shield propped against the wall. The red and gold glimmer even in the candlelight. It looks ceremonial, decorative. It makes you feel like a Christmas ornament waiting to be shattered. The bell rings late. A trainer enters with a scribe and a bowl of dark paint. Time for the mark. This time it's not for ownership. It's for betting. They paint a small glyph on your exposed shoulder, your symbol for the fight. Every gladiator in the lineup gets one. It helps the audience distinguish you from a distance, especially when blood and dust blur everything. You ask you what yours means. The scribe grins. Hawk in flight, quick kill or slow death, good odds. That's not comforting. After they leave, your cellmate, who's seen 10 fights and nearly died in 3, sits up and tosses you a crust of bread. Eat, even if you puke later. You do. The taste is cardboard, but it's food, fuel. You finally ask him the question that's been sitting in your chest for days. What do you do if you win? He chews slowly. You get a new fight. That's it? Sometimes they give you wine. You shake your head. What about freedom? A reward? He snorts. Only if you're famous, or lucky, or dead. That's not just a joke. It's reality. Very few gladiators ever won the Rudies, the wooden sword symbolizing freedom. Historians agree it was rare, reserved for those with impressive records and crowd devotion. Even then, you might only get partial freedom, still owned, just not caged. You ask one more thing. Have you ever begged for mercy? He doesn't answer right away. Then he says, no, but I've whispered it. That silence hangs between you both for a long time. Eventually, you roll over and try to sleep. You dream of the arena, but it's upside down, sand on the ceiling, sky beneath your feet. The crowd floats above you, wine dripping from their goblets like blood. Your opponent is faceless. You swing, and your sword goes through air. You wake before dawn. Your armor has already been laid out. You dress slowly, like a priest before a funeral. The guards escort you in silence, down the corridor, out through the iron gate, and toward the staging room beneath the amphitheater. The stone beneath your sandals is cold. The hallway smells like oil, leather, and nerves. The room is crowded, fighters lined up in various states of readiness. Some bounce on their toes, some pray, some stare at the wall like it holds secrets. Your opponent is there. He's shorter than you imagined, stockier. He catches your eye, nods once. There's no malice in it, just understanding. You nod back. You're told you'll be the second match. Midday, peak crowd, maximum attention. The announcer above calls the first names. You wait, sword in hand, heart thudding slow and loud. It's almost time. The gates open again. You think the second time would feel easier. Familiar, like stepping onto a stage you've seen before. It doesn't. It feels worse. The light hits harder. The crowd is louder. The drums, actual drums this time, pound a rhythm you can feel in your chest. And this time the amphitheater is full. The entire city seems crammed into the stands. People leaning over rails, waving scraps of parchment with odds scribbled on them, shouting names that don't belong to real people anymore. Yours is one of them. Aquila, shield bird, cut his legs. They're yelling at you, for you, about you. You don't feel like a person. You feel like a rumor with a heartbeat. You step into the sand. It's hotter than last time. Finer too. It's been raked, bloodstains covered, for now. Your opponent steps in through the opposite gate. He wears no shield, no helmet, just twin gladia and leather greaves on his legs. Edema Karis, just like they promised. Fast, agile, cocky. His arms are scarred in X's and lines, not from battle, from surviving battle. He's done this before. He bounces slightly on his heels, grins at you, then blows a kiss to the crowd. They love him. Great, you keep your shield up, even now, even when nothing started. It helps. It gives you something to hold on to, something to hide behind. Then, just like last time, the horn, and you move. This fight is different. It's not about power, it's about speed. You try to corner him, but he dances around you like you're made of stone. His first blade slices the air in front of your chest, not close enough to cut, but close enough to send a message. You block the second, barely. You swing, wide and low. He ducks. He lands the first hit, light, just across your bicep. Not deep, just a scratch, but it bleeds fast and the crowd explodes. He winks at them. You hate him a little for that. You readjust. Keep your feet wider. Use your shield more. Let him come to you. The trainer said this would happen. Let him dance until he tires. Then take the center. Own the ring. You hold. You breathe. He twirls once. Unnecessary. Theatrical. That's when you catch him. Your shield slams into his chest hard. He stumbles. You follow with a short jab. He rolls away. Quick, but not quick enough. Your sword bites into his thigh. The cheer that erupts is deafening. You barely hear it. He's still moving, but slower now. You shift forward, press the advantage. Another clash, another scrape. His offhand blade glances off your shoulder. You grunt, lunge, drive your shield into his ribs again. Now he's on the defensive. You feel it, see it in the way he stops smiling, but he's not done. He spins, aims for your neck. You duck. His blade clips your helmet, ringing metal against bone. You see stars, your knees buckle. You stagger back, and he's coming. Blades flashing, a whirlwind. You drop to one knee, raise your shield, and wait. The crowd holds its breath. Then, you surge up, shield to chin, sword to stomach. He gasps, backs away. Blood now, real blood. He drops one sword. The announcer shouts something. You don't hear it, you advance. He's on one leg, breathing ragged. You slash once more, high, then low. He goes down, not dead, but close. You stand over him, same as last time, same hesitation, but this time, there is no vote. Sine missione. You lock eyes with him. He doesn't speak, he just nods. He knows, and so do you. You raise your sword, and you end it. It's quick. The crowd is on its feet. The sound is massive, roaring, whistling, stomping. You don't hear it. You turn, sword dripping, and walk slowly back to the gate. You don't look at the body. You don't look at the crowd. You don't even look at your own hands. You just walk. Back through the sand, through the dark gate, into the tunnel, where it's quiet again, where it's safe, for now. The next few hours pass in a blur. Not the kind you float through, but the kind that drags you along like a river you didn't ask to fall into. You don't remember walking back to the Ludus, but somehow you're there. Blood still streaks your forearm, not yours, his. Your shield is taken. Your sword is placed on a high shelf, marked with a red ribbon, used in victory. The medic doesn't speak as he dabs your temple with a wet cloth. You didn't even know you'd been cut. Shallow, he mutters. Lucky. You nod, or maybe you don't. You're not sure your head is moving at all. You're given a clay cup of wine, the cheap stuff, strong, sour. You drink it all in one go, and it barely touches you. Then you're left alone. Not just physically, spiritually alone. Because this part isn't covered in drills. Killing in a match, seen in Mishone, isn't rare, but it changes you in a way that sparring never could, even if you do it clean, even if it was fair. He looked at you. He nodded. He knew. And you killed him anyway. Your cellmate finds you sitting near the gear racks. He doesn't ask what happened. He already knows. Word travels fast through these walls, faster than sound. He sits beside you, chewing a fig. You did it, he says. You nod slowly. I didn't think you'd do it. You glance at him. Thanks? He shrugs. Most hesitate. You didn't. I waited, you whisper. I didn't want to. That's not the same. You stare at your hands. They're cleaner now, but not clean. Did you like him? Your cellmate asks. I didn't know him. He tilts his head. That's worse. You don't answer. Later, the lanista calls you to his chamber. Same marble tiles, same cold jug of wine on the table. He doesn't offer you any, just gestures for you to stand. Crowd liked it, he says. You stayed centered, used the shield well. You wait for more, a compliment, a reward, something. He just says, you'll fight again next month. That's it. That's the reward. The rest of the week is quiet. The city returns to normal after Saturnalia. Banners pulled down, wine spills washed away, masks removed. For them, it was a party. For you, it was an execution. You train again, not as hard. They're letting your muscles rest, but the drills never stop. Neither do the whispers. Some of the newer fighters look at you differently now. A few nod respectfully. One calls you Victor under his breath. You don't respond. One afternoon, you pass the wall of names. It's not official. Just a scratched list near the latrines where fighters mark those who've fallen. Your opponent's name is there now. Beside it, someone has drawn a crooked sword. You stand there longer than you mean to, until a guard coughs loudly, and you move on. Historians still debate whether gladiators formed tight communities or lived in rivalry. Some records suggest friendships, bonds forged in blood and bunk beds. Others suggest resentment, isolation, and quiet detachment. You're starting to believe both are true, because the moment you start caring too much, the moment you see someone as human, you risk breaking when they fall. But if you stop caring entirely, what's left? You lie awake that night thinking about his face. Not the fear, not the blood, just the moment before. The nod, that shared understanding. You hope someone nods at you someday. You hope you're strong enough to return it. There's a ceremony that happens when a gladiator wins 3 matches. No trumpets, no parade, just a quiet visit from a scribe with better sandals than the rest. He knocks on your cell door with the back of a stylus, calls your name, Aquila, of course, and reads aloud your updated record. Then he nods, jots something down, and disappears. That's how you learn you've moved up. You're now eligible for featured placement. You'd think that means something glamorous. It doesn't. It means higher stakes, higher bets, and higher expectations. You're no longer just a fighter. They want you to perform. The next few days are full of strange new routines. First, poses. You're taught how to hold your sword for artists, stonecutters mostly, who carve quick reliefs and busts for the arena walls. You stand still for hours while a bored artisan squints at your face and mutters something about your nose symmetry. You don't care. Your legs hurt. Second, practice deaths. You rehearse how to die dramatically, not for yourself, for others. Newer gladiators need targets, and you, being seasoned now, are volunteered to be killed, artistically, theatrically, in mock matches. You get to fall slowly, grunt believably, even twitch a little for flair. One trainer calls it dying with dignity. Another just calls it the dance. Third, sponsorships. This one's weirder. You're summoned to a side chamber with a fresh tunic and a table of the fruits you're told not to touch. A woman in a fine stola enters with 2 guards and a fan made of peacock feathers. She looks you over like she's choosing a statue for her garden. I like the quiet ones, she says. They tend to last. Turns out she's a patronessa, a minor noble who sponsors fighters. Not for altruism, for image, prestige. Some host dinners where they parade their chosen gladiators like exotic pets. She signs a tablet. You're now under her protection, which means better meals, maybe cleaner linen, and one free injury per fight before she pulls her funding. It also means your face is being carved into a small bust she'll keep in her garden. You've gone from weapon to ornament. Historians still argue how much autonomy elite gladiators had. Some records show them giving interviews, on wax tablets of course, or choosing opponents. Others describe them as glorified slaves in nicer tunics. You're not sure which one applies to you, because you're still training, still bruising, still sleeping in a room where the walls echo with snores and nightmares. One night, you catch a glimpse of yourself in a polished shield. You don't recognize your own face. It's leaner, eyes sunken, brow always tight, even when you try to relax. You raise your arm and see the brand. It's faded now, but the skin still puckers around it, like a wound that never finished healing. You lie in bed and listen to the others breathe. Some are dreaming out loud. One cries softly into his straw pillow. You don't even know his name. You used to think the arena was the terrifying part. Now, it's the downtime that gets you, the waiting, the awareness. You think about your opponent again, the Democharis with the grin and the twin swords. You try to remember his real name. You can't. Just the nod. Just the end. You wonder how many more of those moments lie ahead, how many nods you'll give, or receive, because the further up the ladder you climb, the narrower the ledge becomes, and one slip, down you go. You didn't think it would feel like this. After 3 victories, after rising through the ranks, after blood and branding and long nights staring at the ceiling, after all that, you thought you might finally feel something. Pride, power, control, but instead, all you feel is watched. The attention isn't flattering anymore. It's exhausting. Every move you make, every swing in training, every bite of food, every twitch of your jaw is under someone's eye. The guards watch for rebellion. The trainers watch for sloppiness. The scribes watch for saleable moments. The patrons, they just watch. You walk across the yard and someone whispers your name. Not maliciously, admiringly, maybe. But it still feels like a rope tightening around your neck. You miss anonymity. And now, the politics begin. One morning, the lanista pulls you aside, not into his office, just behind the gear racks, like he's sneaking a word before a storm. Senator Alice wants a duel, a private one. He's invited guests. You'll fight Varix. Varix, you know that name. He's another rising star, but with real backing, wealthy family, strong patron, a fan club that writes odes to his victories. And he's dangerous, not just in the arena, outside of it too. You've seen him bark at trainers and get away with it. You've seen him strike too hard during sparring and laugh when someone doesn't get up. Is it sine missione? You ask. The lanista shrugs. No, but accidents happen. That's the game now. You're no longer just a fighter. You're a pawn, a symbol, a variable in a nobleman's gamble for prestige. Your life is now part of someone else's dinner conversation. You prepare in silence. Your cellmate doesn't speak much that week. Maybe he senses what this fight could mean. Maybe he knows better than to offer hope. The fight is scheduled for dusk, in a smaller arena behind the main amphitheater. More private, more intimate, more dangerous. You're given special armor, polished to reflect torchlight. A red plume is attached to your helmet, purely decorative, purely for drama. Your opponent arrives late, of course. Varric steps onto the sand with a smirk and a silver-edged sword. His shield is embossed with the image of a lion's head. Subtle. He doesn't salute you, doesn't even nod. The match begins without warning. He lunges, fast, aggressive, no room for warm-up. You block, step back, deflect again. He presses, not playing to win, playing to humiliate. He slashes your thigh, shallow, but enough to send a ripple through the crowd. The guests murmur approvingly. You stay calm. You've done this before. But he's faster than most, reckless. You trade a few blows. He lands another scratch. Your forearm this time. Then, you get him. A sharp jab to the ribs. His breath hitches. The crowd doesn't cheer. They weren't supposed to see you succeed, so he gets angrier. He throws his weight into every swing. You dodge 1, 2, then catch a blow across your shoulder that nearly sends you to the ground. You don't fall, not yet. You circle. You tighten your stance. You wait. Then, when he charges again, you sidestep and bash his shield wide open. Your sword presses to his chest. The crowd gasps. You could end it here, but you don't. You lower your weapon. Turn away. That should be it. Instead, you feel a sharp pain between your ribs. He stabbed you. After the match, the crowd goes silent. You drop to one knee, blinking in disbelief. Guards rush in. Trainers shout. The lanista storms the sand. Varix? He just shrugs. Didn't hear the call. They drag him away. Not in chains, just away. You're helped to your feet, limping, bleeding, but standing. They call it an accident in the reports. Historians might later call it an act of passion, or poor officiating, or a tragedy. You know better. It was a message. This arena has rules, but the power, it doesn't play fair. You don't die from the wound. That's the surprise. It goes in clean, angled, sharp, straight between the ribs, but misses anything that matters. Not by skill, not by grace. Just dumb luck, or maybe the gods were distracted. Either way, you wake up after, and you're still breathing. That's all it takes to qualify as a miracle around here. You're carried back through the tunnels, not limp, but heavy. They don't rush, not because they're calm, but because you're not important enough to hurry for. One foot drags behind you, trailing a smudge of blood down the stone corridor. The other is still trying to find the ground. The blood drips steadily, pattering onto the floor like soft rain. Warm, rhythmic, not gushing, not pulsing. That's good, right? You try to tell yourself it is. You try to pretend you're still in control. The medic doesn't ask questions. He just mutters under his breath, tears your tunic open with a small hooked blade, and presses a poultice into your side with all the tenderness of a butcher inspecting meat. You bite down on your knuckles so hard you taste dirt, copper, something older. He says something about lucky angles, about missing the lung by a hair, about just needing time. He means it as comfort. It isn't. You're not given a real bed, just your usual plank and straw, now with the faint metallic scent of blood baked into it. You're told to rest, to recover, to heal well, because you're still valuable. Not sacred, not spared, just valuable. Like a mule that can still pull weight, or a cart that hasn't lost its wheel. Broken, maybe, but not broken enough. The days blur. You lie on your bunk, sometimes sleeping, sometimes not. The pain comes in waves, sharp in the morning, dull in the afternoon, hot and pulsing at night. You start to learn its rhythm, like a storm that doesn't leave but just circles overhead, waiting for its next chance to break. The others pass by your cell without speaking. Some toss in crumbs of bread, the odd scrap of cheese. A few nod. One leaves half a dried fig wrapped in cloth. Your cellmate, without comment, slides his entire bowl of lentils your way each night. He doesn't ask for thanks. He just watches you eat, then lies back down. That's enough. Ted becomes strange, slippery. You'll stare at the same crack in the wall for what feels like an hour, and then realize the torch has burned all the way down. Other times, it feels like you blink and a whole day has passed. You hear laughter in the yard, clashing steel, someone shouting, "Hold your guard," and you wonder if they've already replaced you, if they're training the next version of you, shinier, younger, more compliant. The wound itches. That's how you know it's healing, but you don't scratch. You've seen what happens when someone gives in too early. Reopened wounds, infections, fever, death that doesn't even get a cheer. You're summoned once, briefly. The lanista doesn't look up when you enter, doesn't ask how you feel. He just signs a wax tablet and says flatly, he won't fight again. He doesn't say Varric's name, doesn't need to. You nod, because what else is there? You don't ask what happened. You don't want to know if it was punishment or paperwork or poison in the wine. You don't want to think about whether the lanista protected you or avenged you or just cleaned up a mess. The why of it doesn't matter, only the after does. Eventually, you walk again, slowly at first, step by step across the yard, head down, shieldless, careful. The others notice. They glance up, Some nod, one raises a fist in quiet salute, but no one claps. No one says, "Good to see you." Because here, walking means you didn't die, and not dying just means you're available again. You look for your reflection in the water basin by the latrines. It's rippled, warped, but the face you see isn't the one you remember. The eyes are set deeper, the lines around your mouth pull differently. Your jaw looks tighter, like it's holding in too much. You look older, not just from the wound, not just from the bruises, from knowing now what victory actually means, that there's no safe path forward, that mercy isn't mutual, that the rules here are written in dust, changed by whoever's standing tallest. You train again, just lightly. You shadow box against invisible opponents. You lift a wooden sword, feel your shoulder pull, your ribs stretch. It hurts, but not enough to stop. It's something, a start, a sign that you're still in there somewhere, beneath the scabs, the linen, the silence. One afternoon, a new recruit shows up. Tall, strong jaw, good teeth, barely a scar. You can spot them a mile away, fresh from capture or contract, still walking like they think it's temporary, still flinching when the food is handed to them like it might be poisoned. He watches you, not with hostility, not even curiosity, with reverence. He's already heard your name, not your real one. That's buried, lost somewhere on a border your feet will never touch again. He's heard Aquila. He nods, just once. A slow, measured thing. You don't nod back, not yet. That night, the ludus is quieter than usual. The grunting and shuffling and arguing of dozens of men stripped down to quiet murmurs and the soft tap of someone pacing their cell. You lie on your bunk, one arm across your bandaged side, staring at the ceiling again. The storm in your chest has faded. The echoes are still there, but now they feel like waves, not thunder. You can breathe again without bracing. You don't know how many more fights lie ahead, how many more names you'll have to learn just long enough to forget, how many more rules you'll be asked to break, or follow, or pretend never existed. But you know this, you're not just a survivor anymore. You're a witness, and that somehow might be worse, because survivors move forward, witnesses remember, and memory is heavier than armor. But for now, breathe. Let the dust of the arena settle in your memory, like the last ember floating down from a torch long extinguished. You made it, through the gates, the crowds, the blood, the politics, the pain, through everything that tried to erase you. And you're still here, quiet, battered, still, but here. You don't have to run anymore, or fight, or flinch. Let your shoulders drop, let your heartbeat slow. The arena fades behind you now. The iron gates close gently. The sound of the crowd softens into a distant breeze. The torches are out. The sand is cool. You are not your name. You are not the wound. You are not what they made you wear, or who they told you to be. You're just breath now, slow, gentle, familiar. You're lying somewhere warm, safe. The kind of quiet place where your limbs can finally be heavy without fear. Where your chest rises and falls like waves that have been waiting for centuries to reach the shore. And tomorrow, it doesn't matter right now. All that matters is this stillness, this breath, this quiet. You earned it. Now close your eyes, let it all go, let it all drift. You're safe, you're still, you're free.